Hello, this is Gary Edwards again, and I'm going to talk to you today about visualization and imaging in preparation for a job interview. Using these techniques, I started practicing at age 30. I began to be successful almost every time that I tried out for a job. Sometimes I ended up with a job that I didn't like, but I always ended up better off than I was before I left my previous job. I eventually succeeded in a career as a social worker, including 17 years with the state, doing child protection investigations and working with kids in foster care and perpetrators and families. My purpose was to keep families together if possible and to strengthen the child's self-esteem. I ended up being a supervisor in my state, and then after I retired from the state, I started my own business and provided mental health services on contract with the state for 8 years and was very successful. I supervised 20 social workers and psychiatric nurses in 3 different counties, and I eventually sold the business for $1 million over 20 years on paper. Now, I'm also going to talk to you about assertiveness training that I have taken in several workshops over the years. In situations, there are 3 ways of dealing with the situation. Number 1, you can be passive aggressive and sit there quietly and just nod your head yes, and yes sir, no sir, how high sir. But then you go out and you actually sabotage the employer or the person that you're having a conflict with. And this way the employer may lose, but you also may lose. The second way to react to a situation is to be aggressive, where you start raising your voice, you actually curse out the person that you're talking to, and you may actually physically punch the person that you're having a conflict with. And this usually results in the person that you're dealing with losing, and sometimes you may also lose in this situation. Now, over the years, I've learned that the best response to a stressful situation is to be assertive. Just come out and state how you feel, what you want, and what kind of outcome you wish for. And use I statements. You say, I need this or that. I feel this or that way. I want this or that outcome. And then you actively listen to the other person's response and empathize with his point of view or her point of view as well. And in this assertiveness response, you'll find that both of you win. So that's what you're looking for, is a win-win situation. Again, the best way to utilize this exercise is to go through the techniques that I lead you through in this session, and then set up your own scenarios and practice doing a rehearsal for a job interview in your own mind before the interview, preferably several times. So what I do is I go into a comfortable room, I turn down the lights, I close my eyes, I sit back, and I start doing my breathing exercises, exhaling slowly, inhaling slowly a few times. And I just get more and more away from the realities of the everyday world and into my own head, free from distractions and noise, free from dogs barking and kids making sounds outside my room. So for example, in the job interview situation that we're going to talk about, the person interviewing you is looking for a good employee who's going to benefit the company and increase their profitability or their customer satisfaction or better services to the public. And what you want is a job that's satisfying, where you get respect, you feel like you're accomplishing a purpose that's important, and you generally feel comfortable and doing better than before. In my situation, I was trying to work my way up the ladder of success to the point where I was comfortable with what I was doing for myself as well as my family. But remember that your employer is looking for what's going to result in the best outcome for them. They're not as often as interested in your needs, such as for more money or a better status. Now, using these imaging techniques, I've often, almost always, ended up in a better situation. And sometimes I didn't like the new situation. So you have to be careful what you wish for. But over the years, each time I've left a job, I've always ended up better off in the long run than I was before I left the job. So returning to the relaxation for the job interview exercise, you sit in a comfortable chair, you breathe deeply a few times, get centered, you relax, you remove yourself from the physical distractions around you. And then closing your eyes, you picture yourself going to an office for the job interview. You're feeling good, you're feeling confident. You know it's going to turn out just fine. And so you enter the door, the receptionist is very friendly and pleasant. There's nice, quiet music playing in the background. And they ask you to sit in a chair and wait for the interviewer. And then you picture the interviewer coming into the room. He or she is a very pleasant person. They smile, shake your hand. You just have the feeling that things are going to work out all right and that you're going to get along with this person. There's no negative thoughts in your mind. There's no doubt in your mind. You're focusing on a positive result. So you're going to like this person. The interview is going to turn out well. So you start off with some light banter. How's the weather? What do you think of the Yankees today? And then shortly you get down to business. Again, everything is going well. You just have this nice, confident feeling. You're feeling very positive. You're feeling very confident. The interviewer asks you about your job history, and you recite your job history without any glitches, without any problems. You review your job history with the interviewer, and you focus on the things that you've worked on that are going to benefit your prospective employer. This is what they want to hear. You're going to increase their efficiency. You're going to reduce the stress of the supervisor. The best way to be successful is to make the other person successful. So if you're working with clients, for example, you want the clients to be successful, and this is going to lead to your success. You want your supervisor to be successful, so he can talk about you to his friends and say, that new person I've got is just working really well. I just love that person. We get along well together. And job interview is a rehearsal for how things are going to be for the rest of your career at this company. So then the job interview ends, you shake hands, smiling. You look each other in the eye, unless you're dealing with a person whose ethnicity doesn't involve a history of direct eye contact, in which case you might look at the ground or off to the side. And you have to be careful about handshakes, but you're going to give this person a great handshake, not too tight, not too long, just enough to say, I'm the person you want for this job. You smile at each other, you leave, you feel good about yourself. You know the job interview is going to have a good result. There's no negative thoughts in your mind. There's no doubt in your mind. You like the company, and the company likes you. Okay, that's the end of the relaxation technique part of the session today. I was just going to mention that I heard about 2 football teams that went through a study. With one team, they did the hard scrimmages, the actual field practice with the rough contact. And with another football team, they practiced in a room where they all did an imaging exercise together. And they reviewed how they were going to play the game in their minds. And everything was totally mental. There was no physical contact at all during the practice sessions. At the end, the team that did the mental exercises did better than the other team that did the actual physical scrimmages. Another scenario that I would like to address briefly is that when you enter a new job with a new company and a new employer and new friends, new colleagues, there's maybe some negative anxiety taking place for the first few days. Okay, what you want to do is focus with positive affirmations. I'm going to do the job. People are going to like me. I'm going to do the job well. My customers are going to be happy. I'm going to be satisfied. Everything is going to go well. And the other thing to remember is that we're all actors. I mean, I've done actual acting on the stage, but every time we go out on a date or find ourselves in a new situation, we act our way through. So it's the same thing with starting a new job. You act like you know what you're doing on the job until it becomes so ingrained in you that you actually do know what you're doing. I used this technique when I started out as a supervisor for the state, and I used the technique when I started my own company. I certainly didn't feel like I knew what I was doing when I started as the boss, but I acted like I knew what I was doing, and that's what got me through the first days and weeks and months. And then eventually, being the boss became second nature. Another situation where that might apply is, say, if you're unhappy. I found that if I act like I'm happy and smile and joke and act like I want to be happy, how I would be if I were happy, that the technique of pretending or acting to be happy becomes a way of life and actually a part of how I do actually feel. In other words, we're redirecting our programs that we've been taught in our heads by the tape recordings that tell us things like children should be seen and not heard, and go stand in the corner for this little infraction or that. And you're relearning new tapes and parenting yourself as a grown-up. So keep these thoughts in mind. I know it's a lot to think of, but practice techniques like this for other situations, and I think you'll find that your life will turn out more successful and you're going to get what you want more often than not. So thanks, and I'll see you on the next session where we practice asking and going on a date.